Hey everyone, what up? Mad Kaiser here. Now, I love JRPGs as much as the next guy, and I think there's a lot of things that makes, a JRPG, just some very good aspects. Some of them can have a very engaging and emotional story, some of them can have very fun and just amazing gameplay, and others can have just things like, impressive worlds, amazing dungeons, incredible atmospheric soundtracks and all that good stuff. That's a lot of things that could help sell anyone a JRPG to anyone that might be appealed by it. But I think another thing that could, help sell a JRPG is on how beautiful they can look. Now, I obviously do not mean that JRPGs need to be as beautifully impressive as cinematic movies that are just playable games that Sony tends to have, quite a hard-on for. No, I mean even games that have, cel-shaded art styles and just look absolutely wonderful. Even, say, the HD 2D games or 16-bit games do have some charm that makes them look nice. So, I thought, why not me, as well as a couple of other JRPG content creators, list a bunch of JRPGs that we think look absolutely beautiful. But before we begin, if you like what you're seeing here, then by all means, like the video, click that subscribe button if you're new, and hit that bell notification icon if you will get updated by all future JRPG content from yours truly. Not only that, by the time of this video, I am starting to begin my playthrough of Chrono Trigger, and hopefully, once that's done, I'll be able to do my long-awaited 500 subscriber special where I am able to review Chrono Trigger, as that's cemented as one of the best JRPGs of all time. So please do look forward to that when I get across to that. Now, with that said, I think it's time to go back to the video.
Hey guys, UpperNimbus here. So, Mad Kaiser has asked me to choose a JRPG that I find absolutely beautiful. A game which is so gorgeous that everything about it just draws me in on an emotional level I cannot explain. All three of these mainline titles so difficult to choose between that I had to just talk about the franchise itself. And that, of course, if you know, is the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise. There is something about the settings of these worlds that are so surreal that it makes me just have this emotional connection. Now also, of course, the story is a very emotional one, so that probably plays into the reason of why I feel so drawn to these worlds as well. But when you intertwine everything together, it is one of the most magical experiences I've ever had in a JRPG. Now, one of the main reasons why I found it so difficult to pinpoint an exact entry in this franchise is because when I started to think about the environments and the landscapes within a Xenoblade Chronicles game, I found that both Definitive Edition and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had the best environments hands down. Now, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is still a pretty beautiful game. The art style in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and the lighting and the cell shading and the character designs of Masasugu Saito really sells the visual aspects of Xenoblade 3, along with the game obviously having the best graphics and frame rate for a Xenoblade Chronicles entry. But I come back to both Xenoblade 1 and 2. For example, in Xenoblade Chronicles 1, you've got the Mechonis in the far off horizon, and then in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, no matter where you are on the Cloud Sea, you've got the World Tree gazing down upon your position, whether it be on Morardane or Gormont. And it's these major story landmarks that I look back at and I think, wow, I wonder what's contained within these locations. And as you trek through these games towards that desired destination, you're going through a whole bunch of other surreal landscapes. With Xenoblade Chronicles 1, seeing the golden lights beaming up into the heavens from the crystals in Valak Mountain to the glowing blue foliage within Satol Marsh. And then coming over to Xenoblade Xenoblade Chronicles 2, just the entire Cloud Sea. I'm a big sucker for sky-themed places in video games, and having a whole game set in the sky was a massive selling point to me. And of course the character designs, especially in 2 and 3, because the same artist, Masasugu Saito, he does an excellent job on the character designs and the art style and just everything about these models. Xenoblade Chronicles is a franchise that is something you have to experience firsthand to understand its true beauty and nature. Thank you so much to Mad Kaiser for having me on for this collaboration, and I look forward to everybody else's choices within this video. So until the next time everyone, UpperNimbus is signing off.
Yo, YouTube, what is good? Bruv gang, what is good? And we are back with another collaboration video. Huge shout out to Kaiser for having me be part of this. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. So when Kaiser had hit me up about the idea for this collaboration, my choice was super easy about JRPGs that look beautiful. Now I played some really beautiful JRPGs over the years, but if you guys know me well or have never heard of me, I'm a huge fan of Persona 5. Persona 5's whole stylization is something that has always been beautiful to me, and something that complemented how amazing the game was to begin with. For me, Persona 5 is such a beautifully presented game, and I think its uniqueness is what sets it apart from many other JRPGs. Now, where Persona 5's graphics are nothing groundbreaking, what adds to making the game so beautiful are subtle things that really make a difference. For example, the UI. The UI design in Persona 5 is probably the most unique UI I've seen in a video game. I've most definitely seen games try to emulate this over the years. So the one thing that stood out to me within Persona 5 was the splash screens after different all-out attacks. With how beautifully each character's splash screen complements their personality within the game, that was something I could never get enough of. So one palace that I think is so beautiful, and most people may agree, well, at least I hope they agree, is Sai's Palace. The palace you played through at the very start of the game where you were sneaking through the casino was just so beautiful to me, then actually getting to play through Sai's Palace once you got further into the game was amazing. From the different vibrant colours used throughout that palace, it also showed one of the more memorable palaces within Persona 5, and not to mention Link killing it on the soundtrack for the palace with the Whims of Fate theme song. So stylistically, I feel Persona 5 just sets itself apart from the rest and is most definitely a game that left a lasting impression on me, and is a big reason why I still feel that Persona 5 is the most beautiful JRPG I've played to this day.
Hey everyone, it's your favorite weeb, Nightfall. Homie Mad Kaiser here hit me up and asked me, hey, what JRPG just looks beautiful? Being a big Japanese RPG fan, there was honestly too many to pick from. It was kind of overwhelming, but I decided on one of my all-time favorites, Persona 4 Golden. How is Persona 4 Golden my definition of a beautiful game, you might ask? Simple. Between the character key art, the video game setting of scenic countryside Inaba, including the various assortment of destinations and local spots, and even the music, it brings together this whole collection that still resonates in my own imagination to this day, and that's even after my original playthrough on the PlayStation Vita, right out of high school. Inaba is first introduced as kind of this boring place, with the most recent attraction for the mini townsfolk being a shopping mall called Junis. But that's part of the charm for me, honestly, between the rustic town, its buildings, the rural drop back of the flooded plains that the cast takes their daily walk to school on, and the interior of the buildings being this classic tatami mat and paper wall look, the Amagi Inn with the spa, and who can forget the infamous King's Game scene. Honestly, there's just so many things to look at in this game. It's a visual feast. Not to mention, each character's dungeon is designed specifically for their particular story arc and Persona Awakening, giving you this feeling like every character has a specific portion of the story relegated just for them. Each character's key art is also expertly designed, and really gives the game this high quality adventure game feel, similar to that of a visual novel. Your player character, including the casts like Rise, Nanako, Kanji, Naoto, and everyone else, really stands on their own feet in original design and honestly creates this colorful cast that's incredibly difficult to top. Persona 4 Golden's cast is still one of my all-time favorites when it comes to JRPGs. Pull it all together with gorgeously animated FMVs to highlight specific story sections, and you begin to feel like this is a visual gaming experience you might not find anywhere else. Now, even though music and sound isn't necessarily something visual, there's something about Persona 4 Golden's music that makes it so you can't look at the game without hearing its soundtrack. And even vice versa. You can't hear this game without even imagining it. You hear tracks like Signs of Love, Your Affection, Reaching Out to the Truth, and Heartbreak, and tell me you aren't immediately visualizing your own experience with Persona 4 in your mind's eye all over again. It's honestly impossible. Ultimately, Persona 4 Golden is this unique product that's hard to replicate or even top between the visually crafted and well-developed world that the title delivers. It really makes you feel like you really did spend an entire year of your life living it up in Japan. Unlike other entertainment media, video games have to draw you in with visual immersion at a high level, and Persona 4 Golden accomplishes that by really making you feel like you're coming home, spending time with friends, and sorting out detective work around its visual environments. That's why I consider Persona 4 Golden beautiful. Shout out to Mad Kaiser though. I appreciate you wanting to include me in this video.
And thank you guys for your wonderful input. You sure have made some very good picks of what JRPGs you think are absolutely beautiful. And before we wrap this up, I think it's time to list on what JRPG I think is beautiful. And I think you guys saw this coming a mile away, especially if you look at the thumbnail and you know my stuff. The game in question in particular that I think looks absolutely beautiful is Tales of Arise. Now with Tales of Arise, past Tales games didn't look too bad. I mean, some of them absolutely looked wonderful, especially with their art styles, like say Vesperia for example, with its cel-shaded art style. I think that game holds up tremendously well, especially in the visual side. But obviously, when taking the series into a new direction and trying to attract to a more wider audience, and obviously trying to put the series on the map and look forward, they obviously had to revamp the past Tales games art style and decided to go for a very beautiful Unreal Engine 4 approach. But instead of just using Unreal Engine 4, they've obviously used that engine and created their own unique art style called the atmospheric shader, which involved making characters and settings look like a watercolor painting, as well as having things like a day and night cycle. And honestly, I think the results paid off, having easily what I consider to be the best looking Tales game thus far, and it absolutely blows even a lot of other JRPGs currently out of the water. And honestly, it just looks phenomenal, especially with the whole day and night cycle and everyone looking very expressive, especially with the amazing motion capture for each of the characters, as well as having very dynamic cutscenes that really just sell you on the emotion and the action incredibly well. Not only that, but the same goes for battles, looking very fast and frenetic. Ever before, like in past Tales games, we're having just, lots of damaging and lots of very cool powerful particle effects and very awesome badass combo finishes in the cases of the boost attacks and the boost strikes for example, as well as having some very cool mystic arts for example. This game also has of course the classic Tales tradition of having anime cutscenes done by Ufotable, and they are pretty nice to look at as very well. Tales of Arise, an example, just looks absolutely phenomenal with its art style, and I think it's a game that as ages well, I think will age well as time goes by. And honestly, while there's some issues like say pop-in and some enemy designs are, reused in certain places, overall I think Tales of Arise is just a phenomenal looking game, especially when you go through various locations throughout the world of Dana and just bask in all of its beauty. It's a very phenomenal game, and especially with the upcoming DLC Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn, it's said to even look even phenomenal with especially what that expansion is going for. And that is my pick for JRPGs that look absolutely beautiful. So anyway guys, what do you guys think? Are there any JRPGs that we didn't mention that you think look absolutely beautiful? Let us know in the comments down below. Anyway, thanks everyone who partook in this video, who partook in this collab. You guys were absolutely amazing, and by all means check their socials out and follow them on YouTube as well. They're absolutely amazing. I'll have a link of their channels in the description below. They're absolutely wonderful, and it was a pleasure to have them here. So until then, until next video, Mad Kaiser out.